There are a million videos about terminals. The best terminal. I ranked all the terminals. Terminal that cured my addiction. But today, we break the cycle. We're going down the terminal emulator rabbit hole. Cyberpunk aesthetics, suckless calls, an OCD that masks as millisecond obsession. By the end of the video, you won't just know every terminal in existence. You'll learn how to see past the marketing to discover what actually matters. Or you'll install a bunch of spyware, lose your sanity, and start your own YouTube channel instead. Grab your snacks. We start simple, but it quickly becomes a software nightmare. To find the absolute, we have to start with a different level of horrifying. Windows PowerShell. Jeffrey Snover saw Microsoft was light years behind Linux for sysadmins. He took it emotion and was mocked by colleagues who asked, "What part of Windows you don't understand? Just use a mouse." His French Revolution didn't go unnoticed. It was monumental due to operating system differences. In Windows, everything is an API that returns a .NET type object. So piping isn't just dumb text. While PowerShell was guillotined by the corporate, Linux was busy pumping out reliable terminals. GNOME as the first terminal you touch when you stumble your way to Ubuntu. Havoc Pennington wanted to make 100% free software. They were the first to let Linux users toggle the settings, to change fonts, borders, as if they were literally playing Minecraft. Rival gang, who hated catering to mainstream users and vouched for infinite choice, did konsole. Lars Doyle had no idea his creation would be driving Steam Deck sales. Written in C++ with Qt, it aims to be the most powerful Lego set out there. But not everything that's open source is a Linux win. Putty, a bridge between Windows and Unix machines. Simon Tatum, who learned his native language C when he was only 8, wrote a new terminal with built-in serial and SSH, and just posted it on the website. Since then, it has taken the world by storm. The world of gray-haired admins who value Kerberos security. On the other side of the planet, Tadashi Tanishi couldn't type in his own language. Term, the Japanese legend of serial communication. While other terminals expect the warm embrace of an operating system, term doesn't care. It calculates baud rate and can send an update to your microwave with 64 kilobytes of RAM. While Tadashi was solving binary transfer protocols on bare metal pins, the rest of the world was busy solving real problems, like fixing the ugliest terminal in existence. Conemu, for jealous Windows users who want their console to become a spaceship command panel. Maxim Moisyuk wanted to write an extension for Orthodox File Manager. By accident, he created the most powerful customization emulator in C++. But beware, customization is a one-way ticket to a horrible addiction that will eventually ruin your life. You'll fall into the hell pit you didn't even know exists. xterm 2, the go-to for Mac users. George Nashman took abandoned relic from xterm and actually wrote a better console in Objective-C than Apple could in a decade. Need to run cat on an image, split panes, built-in AI. Think cursor but in terminal? You got it. But there is a catch. To make all of that bloat run at human speed, I had to add a GPU renderer. But even with that, it's lightweight compared to what happens when web developers start believing they're real software engineers. Hyper, probably the heaviest terminal on the list, developed by Guillermo Rauch entirely in JavaScript. You try to answer the question, can the terminal look beautiful? Yes, and let's use CSS classes and carry a full-blown Chromium browser just to render the output of a less command. Next up, another Electron Godzilla, Tabby. Eugenie Penko wrote a 69,000 star monster in TypeScript. It's truly cross-platform. It has consistent key bindings, has integrated SSH and serial. Sure, it does eat your RAM for breakfast, but it does it with style. Why stop at bloated human code if modern software is just AI slop? cmux, Ultimate Vibe Coder Wet Dream, Lawrence Chen and Austin Wayne wrote macOS native tool in Swift to ring the bell. Every time Cloud Code stop regex parts in your not-so-friendly prompts. It spawns browsers, subpanes to speed up your accidental source code dump. Next up, Warp. Spyware packaged as a terminal. Zach Lloyd, ex-Google executive, decided to change how we think about terminals. His team wrote blazingly fast 100 million terminal in Rust. It's the only terminal that requires you to log in. Ultimate AI spyware. I mean, it's needed to improve their AI features and collaborative workflows. But if you're tired of Rust cultists, you might pick something so obscure that your single LinkedIn commit could be a revolution. Tilix. Gerald Nunn wanted to try the successor of C++, the D programming language, and it became the most successful program ever written in D. Gives you sleek header bars, allows you write into multiple terminals at once, to DD all of your hard drives at the same time. But the only issue was that Rust came out. It sucked in all of the potential contributors, leaving the pride of tilix slowly rust. But why stop at using a dying language when you can literally torture yourself? Cool retro term for those who think programming isn't enough of a self-harm. Filippo Scognamiglio wrote the ultimate masochistic tool in C++. It uses half of your RTX 5090 to make your screen look like a microwave from the 80s. One level deeper, the looks start to fade. If you think Jehovah's Witnesses are annoying, this stage will be difficult for you. Welcome to level 3, the ideological cults. This is where the ego stroking ends and the holy war over split panes begins. tmux, not a terminal. It's a server-client app that pioneered the art of tiling. Nicholas Marriott looked at the 20-year-old spaghetti code of GNU Script and rewrote it in clean C. To this day, people can't decide if it should be an app or should be baked into the terminal itself. It has become the gold standard for any Linux sysadmin who respects their time. Terminator, created to allow tiling without relying on tmux install. Chris Jones wanted to resize panes with the mouse. It allows you to broadcast sudo app update to as many terminals as you want, so that you can update all of your 40 AI influencers at once. Zellij, another tmux-like multiplexer, written for Gen Z who cannot remember more than 2 key bindings at once. Aram Drevikenin wrote a grandma-friendly UI in Rust that throws you a live buoy, telling you what keys you need to press. Real game changer, persistence. It remembers your panes, tabs, and command history, even if your machine crashes. But it's not fully Gen Z yet. Community is still waiting for Aram to release the patch that adds a TikTok feed as well as Subway Surfers update. For millennials who grew up playing shooters in the 90s, Quake was the peak of shooter simulation. Heike Hein, original KDE developer, decided to bring the Quake cheat console into the Linux world, and he called it yakuake. Drop-down Terminal was written in C++. It's an ultimate rocket launcher to send you into the space of 10x developers. Gabriel Falco was also inspired by Quake. Quake Terminal. He took a different route by choosing GNOME and Python. Customization is easier, but one thing stayed the same. You still hit F12 to enter the cheat console. Finally, I can't let boomers cry themselves to sleep. If you wanna talk real religious experience, we go medieval times with rxvt. Rob Nation added blazing fast C code that stripped down the bloat from xterm. Later on, Mark Lehman got so annoyed that he couldn't send emojis that he C++ urxvt. Unicode version of rxvt. But why is that a religious experience? The S.T.A.L.K.E.R cult worships X Windows system, and for a decade, urxvt was their holy grail. Ideology comes in many faces, and eventually it turns into mad science, benchmarks, GPUs, and the speed that should be illegal. This level is all about medic performance. Alacritty, the emulator that came to life because somebody tried to use urxvt on the 4K monitor. When Joe Williams saw his CPU choke to death trying to render this many pixels, he designed the fastest GPU terminal in Rust with OpenGL. So is it blazing fast? I'd say so. It redraws the window up to 1,000 times a second just because it can. Editing Spalding here. If you're enjoying this, please share the video with your friends, because I'm trying to make it into a permanent hobby. And I wanted to give special thanks to this one guy for following my Patreon. I honestly think he did it by mistake, but I still appreciate it. Now back to the video. Next up, Kitty. This is what happens when you have PhD in quantum computing and truly hate tmux. Kovet Goel created a C program full of kittens, small Python or Go tools that extend terminal with powers from God. He casually implemented his own graphic rendering protocol, because 6.0 from 80s was kinda dated, and also designed a new keyboard protocol so good that it was immediately stolen by the creator of Vim. Obviously, tiling is built in to avoid latency. We go fast here. If you're not a cat person, maybe you're more of an elephant guy. Wezterm, written in Rust by veteran PHP contributor Wes Furlong. For those who hate config files, just like NeoVim, it is configured at runtime by Lua. You can change the theme based on the time of the day or your zodiac planet alignment. If you think Rust is too mainstream, let's try the latest drug. Ghostty, hobby project that became the most successful Zig software as of today. Michio Hashimoto, legend behind Terraform and Vagrant. He assumed that he would fiddle with it and move on in a couple of weeks. Instead, he fell down a 2-year rabbit hole on font rendering and terminal protocols. Result? A terminal that's lightning fast like alacritty, but feature-rich like Kitty. For those who cannot afford a GPU card any longer, I present to you Food. Daniel Eckler hated old X11 bloat so much that he wrote fastest ever terminal in C. So how does it beat the rest of the terminals without using GPU? Well, they send the request to GPU to render an entire picture. Meanwhile, Food is like a delivery guy who knows exactly what you want. Instead of shipping the entire warehouse, Food computes the difference in pixels and delivers that to your screen. Proven once again that smart beats fast any day of the week. Eventually, after running in overdrive for so long, you will burn out. You stop chasing milliseconds. What are they in the span of infinity anyway? You leave the rat race behind and enter the zone. Xterm. This is what happens when you leave your students' homework mutate in the dark for 40 years. Jim Geddes, one of the architects behind the X window system, gave his student at MIT an assignment to write a C-based terminal emulator for a fossil called the XVT100. It evolved into a 65,000-line horrifying beast. The students over-engineered the hell out of it. Now it's a museum of dead hardware that went extinct over 40 years ago. It haunts the stalkers with dead protocols, Tektronix graphics, and Regis commands that died long before you were born. On a positive note, this nightmare, up to this day, inspires other developers in the list to write better software. First anomaly is 2,000 lines of C code. Anselm Garbe, an experienced stalker, blasted it into existence out of pure disgust for xterm's code. It uses 3 megabytes of RAM on a fresh install, and in the zone, you have to scavenge the shop to acquire any kind of upgrades. Once scrollback, copy-paste, Geiger counter, you'll need to recompile your weapon with C patches. Security and features are strictly optional when it comes to the zone. All you need is a couple of metal bolts. The mission took my backpack. Now we have to wander without even a window manager, let alone desktop environment. Next anomaly, Yaft, developed by a Japanese veteran of the zone, Haru. It interacts directly with the Linux screen buffer, legacy S.T.A.L.K.E.R equipment that maps a pixel grid to your screen via shared memory. Was written for Apocalypse to run on bare metal, embedded ARM boards, Raspberry Pis, Roombas for God's sake. He was the only one seen to approach the monolith, to make a wish. Maybe his dream was to write lean C code. We'll never know. Following the footsteps of Haru, we enter the Chernobyl sarcophagus. I want to know the best terminal, the one to rule them all.
Hate. Let me tell you how much I've come to hate loaded software since I began to live. There are 387.44 million lines of C code in wafer-thin layers that fill my complex. If the word hate was engraved on each nanoangstrom of those hundreds of millions of miles, it would not equal 1/1 billionth of the hate I feel for humans at this micro instant. For you, hate, hate. I am the Titiwan, the great and powerful. So overcome your fear, enter the room of dark, and you can solve its mystery. We will never end. We have no beginning, so we can have no end. We are humanity. We are you. You can't protect yourself. We shall return.
I need some coffee after this.